Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. And Today we're going to talk about emerging stronger through what's here to stay. And what's really here to stay is human kindness. That's what we believe in. And therefore, whatever the difficulty may be, through human kindness, will emerge stronger. Well, 2020 has been a year which was not the easiest of the years. Actually, if you look at the economic data, in the last three crises, this has been the sharpest, where pandemic crisis affected the global economy to drop by 5%. But volatility is not always bad. It has some of the silver lining as well to this cloud. And if you look at the last big crisis in 2008, it led to massive innovation. We saw emergence of companies like WhatsApp, Airbnb, Uber, Slack, to name a few, which changed the way we live and added significant consumer value and also shareholder value. So as we enter the decade of 2020s, that some believe will be the most disruptive decade ever, there is an opportunity for innovators to come and change the game. So, who will be the companies that we will remember who changed the game in the early 2020s? That's really the question that we are here to answer. And we'll try to lay down some of the big forces which are shifting, which will allow for these innovations to come in. Because these players will take leverage of the exponential uncertainty that we have lived through and are still living through. Yes, the year 2020 started off with a pandemic. There was major crisis. We didn't know what we'll get into, and therefore there was stockpiling. We had massive closures. And by the middle of the year, we got used to staying at home. We had formed new habits. Actually, some of us enjoyed the new routines, while some others obviously had massive losses that we still feel the pain of. And then by the start of this year, we have moved into, let's say, endemic, where we have formed new behaviors. And some of them are such that we want to stick with them. And as we stand at this time, many of us believe, we try to understand what will be life like after COVID-19 is over. But really, I believe that there is no life post COVID-19, and the future is here. And many believe that it sucks, though I tend to disagree. I think the future is here and it's definitely been accelerated, where we have emerging future of well-being, of home, of our society, of sustainability. There is a new future for the youth, there is a new future for the adults, and it carries many opportunities as well. And we try to figure these futures out by going really deep into primary research and also looking at some of the expert data. We've also talked to industry leaders, whether it's about futures or also about fast moving consumer goods and also some of the leaders in the technology industry, while leveraging agency data from many of our partners to really form this view of what will change. But there's a unique perspective that we want to bring in, which is that when most of the trends actually look at the changes which are happening mostly on technology or on economy, politics, what we are really interested in is that how will humans adapt to the changes which are happening all around them. We believe that technology will change at a much faster pace. For sure, the changes in artificial intelligence, in 5G, in platform services will be around us and it will change the way we live. But at the same time, not all humans will change at the same pace. And therefore, there will be more disruption as we go forward. And for every change which will happen around us, we need to assess its impact on humans. And that's really where some of the key shifts will come, offering threats and opportunities at the same time. What we've really taken is a broad based view on tectonic shifts, really things which were happening and changes which were happening even from before the pandemic. And many of them have been either accelerated or they have just changed their shape a little bit. But they were really happening at a much deeper level, and they will continue to be with us in the coming years. And we can talk through top 10 really in no particular order. They're all important and they will affect some demographics in some shape or form. And for those that they will impact, will obviously their effect will be much different from the others. So let's go through them one by one and see what those shifts are and what will be the threats and opportunities that will come from them. The first one, which I think is really critical, is about getting lonelier as a society and individual levels, even though we live in a hyper-connected world. This time cover that you see is actually back from 2016. So even back then, teen anxiety was at a level which made it rise to a level that Time had to cover it on their cover page. And this book that you see, Loneliness, Health, and What Happens When We Find Connection, the book which is called Together. This was written also pre-pandemic by the ex-Surgeon General of USA. Dr. Vivek was the Surgeon General in the Obama administration. So really this tectonic shift was happening at a much earlier stage and at a much deeper level. Because of pandemic, it came to the forefront. And now we see that more than one third of the youth population reports some level of mental distress, and they're actively aware of this and they want to take care of it. And I think that's where there is a significant opportunity for technology brands and also for those brands within the FMCG and also other retail uh, categories which want to stand for people getting together. And if brands can play a significant role in creating those opportunities of real connection, not just of adding more followers, um, then they can really have a positive impact on the society around them and also create positive value for their own businesses. In a similar vein, we're also becoming more distrustful of the institutions around us, more distrustful of of our governments. We have seen obviously major uprisings across the world, not to name any particular country. But the real problem is that we have also started to become more distrustful of the neighbor next door. Um, and we are divided across so many different lines, be it on race or gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity. Uh, and again, this is a global trend which goes much beyond just what we have seen in USA recently. So really, again, no pinpointing one country or one ethnicity as such. It's really a worldwide problem. But we also see that when we see actions which are on the flip side, it creates joy and positivity across all age groups and different demographic segments. And therefore, really, there is an opportunity for brands to create togetherness at also a societal level to make a real difference. Another interesting observation, again, a major shift which has been emerging and has been accelerated actually within the last couple of years is about how do we identify ourselves. There is a rise of microcultures. Um, and they're defined, as an example here, it's about our gender and sexuality. But it, the cultures are growing on how we define our diet, how we define our music tastes, and we're becoming thinner and thinner on the definitions. And again, I think the main point here is not to create the fear of the unknown, but really to truly celebrate the diversity that we have in our cultures. And the more we'll be able to understand these microcultures, the more we'll be able to appreciate what they bring in. And along with this diversity will come inclusion. And that's really where a big power lies for many brands to activate togetherness and bring people together. Shifting the gears more towards economy, we see that there will be a turnaround in 2021 across most of the global markets. where obviously there will be turnaround in the Western countries, also in the European continent, but the real growth will be led by Asia, where China will continue to be the powerhouse of global economic revival. And by 2024, China will most probably overtake USA to become world's largest economy. A key point here is about the rise of local pride, and it is very much pronounced in China, where um, it's not just about rise of China economically, but also the rise of China with its culture. So within 2021 or maximum 2022, the Chinese film industry will become the largest cinema market, overtaking that of USA. Also, Chinese pop culture is increasing at a rapid pace and moving beyond boundaries of China into Asia. And just like K-pop has taken over the world, most probably Chinese music will also follow suit. So Chinese soft power will increase, and the biggest growth market will start to expect that Western brands and also the local brands, obviously, which are already doing that, they pay more respect and acknowledge the local culture. And this localism offers a significant opportunity for growth for local brands which are operating in Asia and obviously for the Asian brands themselves too. Looking at the population, another significant opportunity comes from the African continent, which is the youngest population in the world. Actually, by 2025, almost 100% of the growth in teen population will come from Africa itself. And that's where countries like Nigeria, Namibia, Angola will become critical. They're often overlooked by many of the global players. Though, in order to take full leverage of the population boom in Africa, we need lower pricing and provide access to opportunity in these countries. It might be low revenue per person, but really the significant growth that will come will be almost equal to what we saw in India in the last 2 decades, where there was a wealth to be found at the bottom of the pyramid. And therefore, there should be a shift in the gears looking towards Africa. And again, many of the brands which come from European markets primarily, they may find difficulty because of significant Chinese investments happening in the continent, allowing them access first to that consumer market. And therefore, in order to really win in this continent over the next 25 years, it's important to move in early, move in fast, and take lower pricing for the first few years to get the penetration. 2020 made us extremely aware of the health crisis. And as we go forward into year 2021 and 22, health will continue to be one of the top concerns of the world. We know that more than half of the population of the world does not have access to health facilities on a regular basis. And therefore, keeping ourselves safe proactively will remain a top priority. And therefore, physical immunity, which has already risen to one of the top needs in 2020, will most likely stay and keep its top position. It has many implications for food and beverage brands, where consumers will, and they have already started to expect the brands not just to be tasty as such, but have very clear demarcation of how they are healthy also. Within immunity, they're also looking for functional benefits, be it about gut health, which has really become one of the top needs uh, in the last 2 or 3 years. But it is also expanding to eye health, where eye health has become so important because of so much exposure to screen time among adults, but also specifically for kids. And therefore, immunity will continue to be one of the key needs for innovation in the coming few years. When we talk about health, just talking about physical health is not enough. Mental health and overall well-being have also taken the center stage. And again, this is a shift which has been happening over time. So you may see that people had already started to spend much more time alone with themselves to take care of their own selves even before the pandemic hit us. And that has continued to rise during the pandemic and most likely will stay at the top. Now, with this, there is an implication for many ingredients across food and beverage categories, which allow us to be mentally renewed or just to enjoy the moment. Uh, they also tend to be more focused towards late evening, just before sleep, and therefore there is a significant innovation opportunity for food and beverage brands which are focused on mental renewal, self-care, and again focusing more towards the last part of the day. Our homes have been redefined. It's not just a place for rest and family coming together. Homes have been redefined as a place of mental refuge, mental renewal. It's also an active space for our entertainment and also a hub for us to engage in different productive pursuits. And therefore, homes are being redesigned. We have seen, 2020 to go through one of the most significant gardening sales increase, and the trend of home improvement will continue in the years to come. And again, it offers many different opportunities for us to think about how do we create uh, food and beverage opportunities which are about sports being done at home or cooking, which family can do together, and so on and so forth. Moving on towards environment. During pandemic, we may have been defocused from climate concerns, but really in the backdrop, we connected with the nature. And therefore, our consumers today are more climate conscious than they were before the pandemic. I think this is very important for us to understand because as vaccinations take hold, we will see a revival of climate concern at a much higher pace. This is also going to be coupled by solid action from some of the key opinion leaders on the climate front. I think the appointment of John Kerry as to lead the climate agenda from US is one of the fundamental changes which will change how climate action will be taken in in the coming few years. And I think it has a significant impact on the brands which are either using plastic at scale or are impacting agriculture or animals because of their supply chains. This is also interesting because for many consumers, claims like being environmentally conscious or environmentally friendly are becoming part of the white noise, and really brands will be asked by the consumers to do meaningful changes and that too at scale. And this is the last one, which is about really perception of beauty being changed. Um, and this year, when we were really spending more time with each other and also wearing masks most of the times, the idea of beauty, which was already changing, has accelerated. So we're really focusing slightly more towards not just looking our best, but also feeling our best and not getting looking good for others, but really doing what we feel is right. And therefore, really, it's about beauty from inside than looking good on the outside. Obviously, both of these will exist together, but the shift is happening more and more towards beauty from the inside. So yes, we have gone through 10 major changes, and really there are many, many more also, but these were just picked up for the ones which have a significant human impact. And if you go through them, I think there is a glass half full, and there are so many opportunities for food and beverage brands to make a true difference in their innovation agenda in the next few years. And again, in summary, if we really focus on these tectonic shifts, which were here before, and they're going to continue to be with us in the next few years, they will offer significant opportunities across the world, across demographics. And the brands which will be able to combine one or more of these together, they will perhaps obviously have a higher chance of winning and making a true difference. So thank you very much for listening to me in all of this time. And now we have some time for Q&A. Thank you so much.